Good morning, students. Today we will do a poem Where the Mind is Without Fear by Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore, popularly known as the Gurudev, was a Bengali polymath. He was a poet, he was a dramatist, he was short story writer, a novelist, a philosopher who earned for modern India and place on the world literary scene. First of all, he wrote his work in Bengali language, but later on translated it into English language. Where the Mind is Without Fear is one of his great poems. Where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free. In these lines, Rabindranath Tagore, or the poet, prays to God that there should be an atmosphere of fearlessness, of self-respect, where everybody's mind is free of any kind of fear, where everyone can hold his head high, means there should be self-respect in their eyes, there should be self-respect in their mind, and he wants such kind of country where the knowledge is free, means where everybody can get knowledge freely. There should be no issues of money, there should be no issues of caste and creed for admission, and there where knowledge is absolutely free, because knowledge is the only weapon in anybody's hand that can improve the world, that can improve the youth. So he want such kind of country where the mind is free from any kind of fear, where everyone can move with head high, with self-respect, and where the knowledge is absolutely free. Where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls. He said that I wish for a world, I wish for a country there that is not broken into small pieces. There should not be narrow domestic walls, walls of caste, walls of color, walls of creed, and different narrow domestic walls, where words come out from depth of truth, where everybody speak truth. There should be no mirror of false. Everybody should speak truth. There should be no any burden of falsehood, where tireless striving stretches its arm towards perfection. He wants such kind of country where the big hands of perfection welcomes everybody, means all the efforts, all the work done by the people should reach to the perfection mode, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way, where he wants such kind of country where the clear stream of reason, means there should be good reason behind everything, there should be clarity in the reasoning of the people, they should not lost its way. Into the dreary dressed sand of dead habit, he said, there should not be dreary desert scent of dead habitat. Means there should be, the habit should not be dead. Dreary desert, that is the lacking charm, causing dejection. There should not be any kind of dejection in the minds of people. Where the mind is led forward by you into ever widening thought and action. The poet wants, or the Rabindranath Tagore wants, such kind of country where there should be similarity in between thoughts and actions of people. I mean to say, what people thinks, they should convert it into their action. There should be similarity in between thoughts and action. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father. Now, who is my Father here? My Father is God. Into that heaven of freedom, my Father, let my country awake. Now, in the end of the poem, Rabindranath Tagore wishes, he prays to God that my Father, my God, I want such heaven of freedom. Heaven of freedom means there should be freedom everywhere. Every person is free. Every person is free to speak. Every person is free to choose his religion. Every person is free to do his actions, where every person is free. Means that heaven of freedom, let my country awake. Means my country will awake in such kind of freedom. In the heaven of freedom, my country will awake. So, it was the beautiful poem by Rabindranath Tagore. All his prayers for his country. Where the mind is without fear is taken from Gitanjali, and it appears as the 35th poem in the collection. You can say it is one of Tagore's most anthologized poem. The English version of Gitanjali containing 103 poems. The Bengali version of the collection contains 157 poems. The poem expresses the poet's reflective spirit and is simple prayer for his country. But the prayer has a universal message. Tagore's prayer has a universal message, and he dreams of a global society where there is no boundaries of caste and creed. And poet prays not just for territorial independence of his country, but also requests for spiritual and intellectual freedom. He wants his country rise above the petty concerns and narrow prejudices, and his country is based on the truth and fearlessness. The poem is written during when the India was, crossing a big dilemma, because people were enforced, to come out of the slavery of the British rules. Everybody wants his country to be the better side. He wants all kind of freedom. It should be spiritual freedom, it should be intellectual freedom, and it should be a beautiful country. Rabindranath Tagore, can anyone tell his best composition? Yes, yes, it was India's Jan Gan Man. Tagore was a man far ahead of his times. His views on culture, gender, poverty, education, freedom remain relevant even today. He was a Nobel Prize winner for literature in 1913. So, he was a great poet and he was a gardener in the field of English literature. Tagore's best known works were his poems were most devotional poems in the Indian tradition. So, Where the Mind is Without Fear is a beautiful poem, and it shows the beauty of a country, a beautiful country where the mind is without any kind of fear, where self-respect should be in the eyes of the person, where all kind of knowledge is free for all kind of learners, where the world is not broken into pieces, into fragments. Fragment means pieces. So you can see alliteration in this poem. You can see metaphors in this poem. And there is dreary desert. It means here alliteration is there. The repetition of sound D is the alliteration. So, Where the Mind is Without Fear is a beautiful poem written by Rabindranath Tagore. Today, you all will read this poem carefully and underline the words that came across a little difficult and find out some antonyms and synonyms and poetic devices used by the poet. Thank you so much.